Welcome to our Vault Shorts. These are shorter episodes highlighting programs and resources here in our Billings and Montana community. Today we're excited to welcome Candace, the VP of Marketing and Communications with the Montana Chamber.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Cavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
To share their stories, expertise, industry insights, and strategies.
And we are sharing them all with you every single week.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center offers free personalized support from business plans to financial projections and beyond, empowering small businesses to thrive. Reach out to us at bigsky.economicdevelopment.org.
Welcome to The Vault. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So you are based out of, remind us.
The Montana Chamber is based out of Helena, but I live in Bozeman. So my staff is distributed all over the state.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's awesome.
We see you. You've been in Montana a long time doing really great things. A trailblazer yourself in our state. So can you tell us a little bit just about your career history and how you came to work at the Montana Chamber?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
What brought you here?
My ex-husband did.
Thanks, ex-husband.
To Billings about 20 years ago. So he was in oil and gas. And
makes sense.
He was assigned to come to the Billings refinery to put environmental upgrades into the refinery. And so I had two babies under the age of 2, and we were living in Los Angeles and moved sight unseen to Billings.
Wow.
Oh, goodness.
So
culture shock.
It was. However, I will share my daughter's story is her name is Madison River Strauss, and she was born in Washington, D.C., but my ex was fly fishing the Madison when I told him I was pregnant, and he said he never saw anything more beautiful till the birth of his daughter. Hence, she has her name. So
that's awesome.
it was almost
very sweet,
fortuitous that we would be moving here. But if somebody wanted to said you're going to move to Montana, I would have said over my dead body. And but it's been almost 20 years with a little 3-year hiatus abroad in the middle. But
where abroad?
Copenhagen, Denmark.
Wow.
Athens, Greece, and the first year was Houston, Texas, but I count that as abroad.
Yeah.
They want us to secede from the union. But and so it's been an amazing 20 years. It started with the Billings Symphony. I worked for them doing marketing and sales, which was an amazing experience. Got pulled over to Bozeman to be the development director at the Museum of the Rockies for 6 years.
Oh my God, you've held some really fun positions.
So Dr. Jack Horner of Jurassic Park fame was super fun to work with him and everyone at the museum. We also finished a capital campaign, but then also did one to create the Children's Discovery Center themed Yellowstone, which was really fun. And then upgrading the Taylor Planetarium to a Digistar 5 with the Taylor family. So that was great as well. And then from there, that's when I took my little hiatus and went and worked with the Houston Symphony for a while and then went abroad. And my job from Denmark that brought me back was the president and CEO of the Big Sky Chamber and Visit Big Sky. So came back across the pond. My daughter was about to start high school, and she's like, I really want to drive and go to prom and
do all the things.
So do all those things as an American girl. So we came back and spent 4 years there, the first year of COVID, which was, a heavy lift for everyone statewide. But there, we literally had the possibility of imploding, right? And so it's amazing to see the turnaround and the growth that has happened and continued development there with the one and only coming, first one in the North American continent, 6-star hotel.
Wow.
And then from there, for the second year of COVID, I was tapped to go to Sedona, Arizona to run the Sedona Chamber and Tourism Bureau. I had moved my mother there to live with my sister in Phoenix pre-COVID, and she was experiencing some health issues, and so kind of went to go tag team and help with that care. And then she died 3 days before I moved there, very unexpectedly.
So
Thank you. So it was it was a difficult transition. And that market and destination also experienced tremendous growth during COVID. So over 500,000 more visitors year over year, a lot of day trippers.
That's huge.
It really was. So there was a lot of destination stewardship and management happening there with all of that. And then I wound up transitioning back. My son was about to be a senior in high school, and so wanted to just be with him. I'd set some priorities of family. And so in moving back, I've known Todd O'Hare, who's president and CEO of the Montana Chamber for decades. When he used to work for Cloud Peak, he was my sponsor at the museum ball. So knew him for a long time, and we just started talking. And so he had me come on board. And then in so doing, in addition to marketing and communications, wanted me to really help get tourism under the tent at the state chamber. In the past, it wasn't always recognized as a major driver of our economy. And so Todd, having personal family, ties to that industry, as well as our extractive and agricultural, understands the importance of tourism. So that opportunity, as well as raising women's voices here in Montana. And so that's how the Blazing Trails Montana Women in Business Summit came about.
Wow. So those have all been your thing. So I just have, and then we'll get into what the Montana Chamber does, but what brought you, so that's a big draw to pull you back to Montana from abroad in a really beautiful place that you were living. What was that tie that you were like, I got to go to the tourism and do all of that in Montana? What things did you do prior that led you to really want that role in Big Sky that you took?
Okay, sure. So my career in tourism really started with 9/11. So I was living in Washington, D.C., and had been there for almost 10 years, working really in entertainment and sports. So I worked for Nancy Kerrigan's husband and agent, who also ran the Association of Volleyball Professionals. So a lot of professional volleyball players were represented. That was fun. I worked for Feld Entertainment, which is Disney on Ice and Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. And they also had the Siegfried and Roy show in Las Vegas before Roy was bit by the tiger. And then I worked for the Washington Redskins. And due to 9/11, I had lost my job. And so that's what really got me into tourism and raising money to bring people back to the nation's capital. So always have had a really soft place in my heart as tourism as an economic development driver for communities, both large urban areas as well as rural. And so to be able to come back from abroad and go into Big Sky, which, as I'm sure you both are very well aware, is the single largest bed tax collector in the state of Montana at this point, with the Montage Edition. I was there for the groundbreaking of that with Alan Firstman, and just a lot of firsts going on. But even more so, the ability to help start the Big Sky Community Housing Trust that now is just transforming that community and the ability of its workforce to live there. The Tiger Grant, which we were able to secure during my time there, has finally just finished with its last ribbon cutting of the pedestrian underwalkway under Low Mountain Trail, the highway going into town. So that took, I think we're at 7 years now to get everything done.
But how cool to see that finally kind of coming to an end, even if you're at a distance with it, but seeing like all of those projects wrap.
Yeah, so really transformative.
My one question is, when you were 6, 7, 8 years old, were you like, I'm going to work in tourism?
Oh God, no. I don't know what I was thinking when I was 6, 7, and 8 years old. No, had no idea. And that was through my youth, I don't know, I didn't have anything that tugged on me, like saying, okay, this is my purpose.
Yeah.
But being in the nation's capital and just so much going on there that so connected to the world, I guess what I would say from my youth, what was a passion was my pursuit of speaking foreign language.
Oh, wow. So how many languages do you speak?
Spanish fluently, but I've taken French. I've taken Danish, which is a horrifically difficult language because it's a spoken and a heard language, so very different. And then Greek.
Oh, wow.
So was a major decision for me going into high school. What language am I going to take?
Yeah.
And I really wanted to take French. And now when I watch Emily in Paris, I'm like, damn it, I should have taken French. Sorry, I
We
cussed.
love.
No, it's okay.
That's
It's
okay.
good.
We love Emily in French.
Yeah.
Emily in Paris. Emily in France.
Yeah. So, but I went with Spanish because at the time they said, our U.S. population by X year is going to be this percentage of Spanish-speaking people. And so I'm like, well, that's silly that I wouldn't speak a language that my fellow
Americans
residents are going to speak American. So I studied in high school. I actually took a summer in Arizona at Arizona State, taking 300 level classes there. And then I lived abroad in Barcelona, pre and post 92 Olympic Games, doing a program and then going back for a Spanish lover, Juan. So,
and their Spanish is a little different than like Mexico.
Yep. Castilian Spanish, there's definitely a different accent over there. So that's what drove me. I thought I wanted to join the State Department. So kind of was looking international in scope in a career. And I get to use my language, which is fun in different accents. Like down in Houston, there's so many people just speak the language, same in Arizona. So that's been helpful. A lot of fun.
Yeah. To keep it like top of mind and practiced is what I hear. I don't really speak fluent anything other than English, but I wish I did.
I know food words.
Oh, well, those are important.
Those
I
are
can
very
order at a
important.
restaurant.
Yeah, so I can understand menus in different languages,
Nice.
and that's probably it.
What's important?
Yeah.
You need to eat well when you travel. That and where's the restroom? Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Alcohol. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what that's looked like now at the Montana Chamber, bringing that great experience that you have. What has that looked like in those programs you talked about and those events that are under your scope that you've implemented and brought to the state?
Sure. So the first one was the Convergence, which beyond tourism, we also combined film and outdoor recreation. So we call it like a FORT vertical. All three of these industries combined really harness the power of place to drive economic development. And so we feel they're all interconnected. And as we've seen with the Yellowstone series and its spin-offs, how that's driven tourism. And then also folks before, during, and after will continue to come to Montana for our outdoor recreation pursuits. It's been really fun to bring those industries together. And we did the events around National Travel and Tourism Week, which is the first week of May, celebrated by the U.S. Travel Association, that really promotes the power of travel to drive economies and do good things. Travel as a force for good. So we did that for 2 years. Our first year was following the 500-year historic flooding event in Yellowstone that really decimated so many small businesses along that 89A corridor from Livingston all the way down to Gardner, the Cook City on the other side, as well as to West Yellowstone, with the park having been closed for 8 days. But then that road refurbishment in a miraculous 4-month time. So it was terrific to be able to bring and shine a light on that area, because so many people just saw that house floating down the Yellowstone from that summer prior. And we're like, well, is the park even open? Can I go there?
Yeah.
So just so many committed and passionate people in those communities, that the heavy lift to get that done. So that was a blessing to be able to be a part and help support that. The second year we went to Butte because we were really trying to focus on the media film tax credit. It did not pass in the 2023 legislative session. And if it does not pass, this renewal in the upcoming session, we will choke off film production until 2029. And what I'd like to emphasize is that it's not just the major markets like Bozeman and Missoula that are seeing this. Look what happened to Butte, the economic impact. It was miraculous.
It even helped them redo some of their storefronts.
Right. And Darby. And there are so many rural communities that are benefiting. And beyond that, our local workforce and all of the programs that are being developed to train Montanans to be in this industry and be able to stay here and work here in a productive way. So we really hope that passes this coming session. So that allowed us to talk about that element at the Convergence there. Turning to the Women in Business Summit, when I came on, Todd's like, what is something that you're really passionate about? And I said, well, when I went to the Sedona Chamber and Tourism Bureau, they said, well, what didn't you get to do in Big Sky that you really wanted to do?
Yeah.
And I said, well, elevate women's voices in equity in the state. And so I had half a board of women, and they just grabbed that ring and ran. So like my first month in, that came out of my mouth, and I must have manifested it into the world, because a year later we produced Women's Leadership Awards luncheon. So it was a luncheon.
Yeah.
Like sold out, 210 women at the Hilton Sedona. We were able to give the city manager, who had been there for 50 years, not city manager, excuse me, the mayor, who had been there for 50 years, actually incorporated the city, was part of the original city council, a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, wow.
And she unfortunately didn't win the new mayoral election, so it was really a gift from the community to her. And so I said to Todd in here, I'm like, well, I want to bring that community and that connection and recognition to Montana. And again, I manifested it into the world with Liz Markey, who sits on my board. I'm sure you all know her with Two Bear Capital. She's a phenomenal woman. She also started Frontier Angels and has just done so much for the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Montana. She and I were at the Kimpton Armory for International Women's Day cocktail reception that was happening on the rooftop sky shed. And there were Montana maker women there, and I'm like, we need to do like what I did in Arizona here in Montana. And she's like, let's do it. And so a year later, we stood on the rooftop at Sky Shed, and we had 240 women from around the Treasure State, sold out, oversold event, 2.5 days of just amazing connection and sharing of stories and challenges and opportunities and successes. And it was electric. I don't know how to describe it any other way than to be in a room of 240 women. And so Todd, my boss, was there as the one man,
the token male
on the first day, and he was just like, wow, this is not an experience I've ever had before. And then Tony Rosaneva, who's our incoming chair next year with Zoot Enterprises, was there the second day, as well as Corey, who owns the Kimpton, and his wife. And so 2 men the next day in the room, and they were just dumbfounded. They couldn't believe the experience. And, it's funny, sometimes people will ask you, why does this have to be an event for all women? And, some men will ask that question. Why do you feel the need to do that? And I said, well, have you ever walked into a conference and been, it been all men? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, exactly. And I've walked into those, and it's all of you and one of me. I've been in many meeting rooms where I'm the single female. And so...
And we have to tackle a little bit different challenges than the average male. So I think having a conference that's set for women is awesome. So they can share ideas, get connected, and not feel alone.
And the thing that I'm most proud of from this conference is that our proceeds go to benefit our child care policy initiatives in the legislative session and beyond. And so we were able to raise $50,000 net.
Wow.
Our first year.
Congratulations.
Wow.
That's huge. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money to help with childcare, because as we've seen through COVID and all of the impacts on our childcare facilities across the state, that a lot of the weight and burden of trying to figure things out while working is falling on women. So workforce participation is down among women way more than men, and we need to correct that. So so it's great that that's where our monies from the event go.
Well, and congratulations for bringing those 2 big events to the state. I just think it's amazing. And Montana's a big, small town, so I think to just give people the opportunity to come and connect in one place and learn from each other is so valuable. So thank you for doing that.
I just want to bring it back because we've talked about a few things that you work on at the chamber, but for those that don't know, what some people have never even heard of chambers or know that there's chambers in their communities, what does the Montana Chamber do?
So we are focused on really advocating for a positive business climate here in Montana for our many small businesses as well as our larger industries. That is being up at the Capitol and being that voice of business there. So last legislative session, we passed an unprecedented 10 bills, including the increase in the business equipment tax exemption up to $1 million, working very closely with Governor Gianforte. And so we're very proud of that. It was, like I said, unprecedented. And this coming session will be just as busy, and we have quite a few priorities to help the business environment. In addition, we are also focused on infrastructure development. We've been very fortunate in Montana through COVID with federal monies that have all been made available to see some real dedication of funds to improve our infrastructure, from be it roads, water and sewer, and the like. And so we are looking at new areas of infrastructure. Internet connectivity was shown to be a massive need during COVID for rural communities. That will continue to be important for Montana, but also our energy sustainability, and do we have reliable and affordable energy sources? And as we watch our neighbors in California with rolling blackouts and turning the lights out in storms and things, and having to go to the grid. If anyone has heard Bill Berg from Northwestern Energy talk about what's happened in our horrific cold, freezing peak periods, and how we've had to go rely on an outer market to provide that energy for us, it's really important. With our Montana Chamber Foundation, that's our philanthropic arm, we then focus on workforce development and entrepreneurship. So we have programs that are called Cultivating Careers, where we're going into high schools and to college campuses and bringing private industry, RDO equipment, and frontline ag are amazing partners of ours. Yep. And so we've just actually held 2 of those out in eastern Montana that were extremely successful on Dawson Community College and in Glendive.
Cool.
You can look on our website to find out more about that, and if you want to participate or support. And so James Easton, who is a Billings resident.
We connect Kayla more so, but yeah.
Yep. We work with James all the time. We do a youth holiday market.
Yep.
Which you're probably very well aware of, because you guys actually coordinate it.
Yep.
But we work with James on that and we worked with James before he went over to the Montana Chamber as well. So
that holiday market is part of our Empowered program, which is a national curriculum with Empowered based out of Kansas City that was originally created to address inner city kids and how do you get them involved to, better themselves in those environments. And we were one of the first rural communities to be brought to. We can thank Liz Markey again, another trailblazing lady, who helped really push that because she's on our Montana Chamber board. And so that goes in and teaches kids entrepreneurial mindset and gives them these skills to really think about building a business. So part of that is the marketplace that they hold. But then also we conduct what's called the Prospects, and it's a middle school and high school pitching competition.
Yeah.
That happens in April.
It's a really cool program. We have a lot of students we work with at the high schools, and they go through it. So they practice their pitches on us.
Oh, fun. Super fun. So we had over 200 submissions this past year.
That's so cool.
And then they win through the virtual award show. Cash prizes and scholarships are given, but then we convene in person with the Montana State University Jake Jabs College of Business and Entrepreneurship, and working also with the Entrepreneurship Center, Blackstone Launchpad, over on campus, and host then an in-person event for top selections from that process, and give additional cash and scholarships. So it's a real tremendous opportunity, cool. and what these kids are doing is amazing. So that's what we're doing on the Montana Chamber Foundation side.
That's really cool. So what are some other, so you talked a little bit about advocacy and some other things, give us how big's your team and day to day for you guys throughout a year?
So we are small but mighty. We're about 8 team members.
Wow.
Yes.
Small but mighty.
Wow. Super mighty. Yes. And the organization has an amazing track record of success, as well as we're just someone, when you need something, you pick up the phone and call us. So day to day, it really depends on the time of year and if it's a session year or an off session year, what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But constantly connecting with our legislators on both local, state, and federal level. So much about policy is really relationships, and so those can't just be once every 2 years in Helena. So we are out and about across the state. The number of miles that our team puts on their cars to be in different places. Any car dealers out there want to sponsor cars for the Montana Chamber.
That's a fun idea.
Yeah,
that would be just random and roll.
Yep. See us all over the place. So we have folks in eastern Montana. Like we said, James is here. Todd is Livingston and Helena, splitting his time. Charles is up in Helena, as well as Stacy. We've got Matt up in Missoula. I'm in Bozeman. So we really, Tiana is the one out in Eastern Montana, mom of 2 babies, our workforce specialist.
Yeah, she does workforce, right?
Yes.
And I think she went to Rocky, if I'm not mistaken, in Billings, or a little bit, because she's very familiar to me.
Yeah. So we're definitely, I think we've got a good coverage for the state. And day to day, like I said, all those pillars, the advocacy pillar, number 1, of course, is the voice of business, but working on infrastructure and things with different departments within state government as well, just knowing where that is and connecting it with private industry. And then the workforce development and entrepreneurship, again, that's a daily task, reaching out to those educators, getting them to adopt this curriculum. James, we joke that it's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, but where in the world is James Easton today, because he's
everywhere.
He is everywhere.
But he comes from the school background, which was probably really helpful, because then he knows like the lay of the land.
He was a teacher in Billings. Yeah. So
he can connect with anyone.
Him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's great. He's like the teacher everyone wants to have in their high school. Do you know what I mean? Like that you hope you have a James as a teacher.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a little bit. So on your website, and you guys have Envision 2026. That's 2 years away, which is wild. So can you tell us a little bit about Envision 2026? And then are you guys going to do another like Envision 2035 or something?
Yeah, we have been talking about that for 2 years now. So, it's not going to change dramatically. When that was created, the Montana Chamber and its board and staff went out to the business community and really solicited input and engagement on what is important to move Montana forward economically. And we got amazing feedback. And so this plan has really guided what we do. Those 4 pillars, advocacy, infrastructure, workforce development, entrepreneurship, that's what holds up that plan. And things have changed and progress has been made, but not that much that there's really a change in the force of those pillars that hold up our organization and what we do for the business community. So, like I said, it may be a change in strategy on what was that infrastructure in the past that we looked at to really be vocal and support and try to push through, maybe shifting to different areas such as energy, as we've talked about. And the workforce development issue continues. We've been very proud to be able to help lift up the programs that have come out of the governor's office with respect to apprenticeship and really incentivizing private industry to build on that and the monies that are now available to them to be able to increase that, again, to keep people here. Things like Gallatin College, which is currently fundraising to have a building of its own to really help promote the trades. With so much construction and development going on here, we need all of those third-party, vendors from welders. My son did 2 years of welding in Bozeman High School through Gallatin College. And so that ability to really link different levels of education and pathways into the workforce immediately for our Montana kids is huge. So super excited about ways that we continue to grow those types of programs. We're trying to do also with Indigenous and tribal students. James is bringing the Empowered to tribal nations back to film. The Media Training Center is training future Indigenous filmmakers to help them share their stories.
Well, Linwood does some really, she's amazing. She hosted something here in Billings it was a specific type of training, but it's so cool. They're training people to be on set. And I forget what they call them. Like, there's a cool little acronym for them. But
all I have is like stage hands.
Yeah, maybe it's something like that. It's very something like that. But it's just new career opportunities to help people get their foot in the door. So then when we talk again about the film tax credit, from my minimal understanding, it's like a show like Yellowstone just eats all of that up and doesn't really leave much for everyone else in some of those smaller projects. But it's a really huge driver an opportunity for our state.
It is an opportunity. So that workforce element is really a big one for sure.
And I was in Kalispell recently, and I didn't really realize their community college. It's stunning. They just built a new building that reminds me of like a mini Alberta Bear Theater where they host theater. And it's beautiful. It's new. They got a lot of donations to fund it, but they have really great programs. Like, I think they have the CDL program, welding and fabrication. They have more medical, clinical types of programming too, to just really help our students get off the ground and running out of high school and a 2-year type program, 1 year, 2 year.
So we host our Governor's Cup opening reception at Flathead Valley Community College, and it is spectacular.
It's cool.
They're great partners as well. And I also want to mention Accelerate Montana at University of Montana too, and a lot of their workforce development training programs that are coming out of there. The Native American Launch Program is spectacular. It launched last year at the Women in Business Summit.
Cool.
So we were honored to have some Indigenous makers with us, as well as the woman that runs the program. They will be doing a panel this year as well.
That's really cool.
So we'll have 5 women and actual makers market on Thursday where you can buy their products.
I love that.
So we're really excited to be able to support those efforts as well.
Yeah, that's great. So is there anything we've missed out on asking you with the Montana Chamber that you guys are really focused on right now? I know we're headed into a legislative session, elections coming up.
Yes. So we actually have our board meetings here in Billings today, this morning, happening right after our, this won't air today, but I'm here for that reason. And then we go right into our annual members meeting where we're going to announce our Titans of Business Oro y Plata Award winners. Then in addition, we're going to celebrate our coolest thing in Montana, Made in Montana winners.
That option.
So this contest ran for a couple months, and we have a small business and large business winner. It was Rattlesnake Cable Company and Nomad Global Communication Systems. So we are really excited that had so much excitement and momentum around it and picking these winners. There were over 60 people who were put forward, their organizations, to compete in this competition. And so super excited. And we have the Rattlesnake folks will be with us here today. So we're excited about that.
That's exciting. I nominated like 8 businesses.
Yeah,
I got too excited. I was
the
like,
Montana Chamber's doing this, you guys. So I'm submitting
I don't know if
them.
I was supposed to, but I definitely did.
It's okay.
No, yeah, she's like, this is happening. We're doing it. And I'm like, great, because she saw it, which is so cool.
Well, it was really a way for us to highlight our amazing manufacturing industry.
Yes.
Here
Absolutely.
in
We have
Montana.
a huge manufacturing industry, and I don't feel like people understand that.
Right. So it's a fun way to kind of raise the level of awareness of that. We concluded and announced our winners during National Manufacturing Week. So
Yeah, it's just like 2 weeks ago.
Yep. So, and we work very closely with the Manufacturing Extension Center at MSU.
Yes.
Patty Fleming
Love
is on our
Patty.
board. He's amazing.
We keep wanting to get him on when he's in town.
Oh, well,
so.
he's here.
I
He's
know.
here now.
He didn't let me know. Patty. I'll get him on.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Because he's great. Well, thank you for joining us
Yes.
to tell us more about the Montana Chamber, your role. So where can people get connected with you and the Montana Chamber?
So our website, simple, montanachamber.com. Go there. Everything's there. All of our contact information is there. I'm just Candace at montanachamber.com.
Awesome.
So, yeah, feel free to reach out.
What's one thing you would say for somebody that's looking to get involved?
Don't wait for someone to come tap you. Act. Take action.
I love that.
I think one final thing is, membership is an interesting concept with our changing generations. And do they feel the need to be members of organizations? I really hope that younger people coming up and starting businesses see the benefit it's a bilateral benefit, right? It goes both ways to being a part of a community and support their local chambers and economic development organizations, and because it's really important. And we couldn't do the things that we do without our membership support. We, by nature, are a 501c6 nonprofit membership organization. And so I would just say, join, get involved, show up. We offer tons of networking and engaging events.
And events throughout the whole year and in different parts markets. Of the states. Yeah.
And if you can't do it on our state level, at least do it on your local level, because we really want to support our ecosystem of chambers of commerce and economic development organizations throughout the state and all that they do to help prop up our communities. So.
And I think one thing I would just add to that is in the great work that you guys are doing, like as you talked about with those 4 pillars, we're playing a really long game. I think that's what the state chamber, economic development organizations, that we're playing a long game to help our state. And it's never going to end, we hope, So just continued work that is really great to get connected into. So
thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. It was great to learn more about your role and how you help the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We
hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at The Vault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, community development, and workforce development. Learn more at bigsky economicdevelopment.org.